Hello everyone. So this is the last lecture for the revision class. So dear students, now what we have done is that we had started the revision of the numerical methods. In numerical methods we discussed about the Gauss elimination method. Then we also discussed about, after the Gauss elimination method, the next method that we discussed was about the Gauss-Jordan method. Third method is called as the Kraut's method, which is also called as the LU decomposition method. Yes, good afternoon. Which is also called as the lower triangular, upper triangular matrix decomposition method. These three methods are also called as the direct methods or exact methods. Why? Because we are getting some exact value. X might be equal to 2 or 3 or 4 or y equal to 1 to 3. Exact values we are getting. These are also called as the exact or direct methods. Next to method, the fourth method is called as the Jacobian method. Jacobian method, or also called as the Gauss-Jacobian method also. Gauss-Jacobian method, GJ method. GJ method, Gauss-Jacobian method. This method and the last method, that is the Seidel method or the Gauss-Seidel method. Seidel method or the Gauss-Seidel method. These two methods are called as the indirect methods or approximate methods. Approximate or indirect methods. These methods we have already discussed in the previous classes in the revision thing. Now, the next thing that we are going to discuss, the revision, is about, so Kraut's method we discussed in the previous class, Jacobian method also we discussed in the previous class. After the Kraut's and the Jacobian method, we discussed about the Gauss-Seidel method also. Yes, okay, we discussed this thing also. Now let us discuss about numerical solution of a non-linear algebraic equation. Numerical solution of a non-linear algebraic equation. Students, let us say that you have an equation like this: x square minus 1 is equal to 0. You will say that, sir, x will be equal to either 1 or x will be equal to minus 1. Both will satisfy this equation. Clear? Or this thing can also be written as f of x is equal to x square minus 1. This thing can also be written like this. You will say that, sir, for x is equals to 1 and for x is equals to minus 1, f of x will be equal to 0. You are getting some exact value, x is equals to 1, x is equals to minus 1, you are getting some exact value. But let us say, students, you have an equation like this: x cube minus x minus 1 is equal to 0. You have an equation like this. How will you solve this equation? With the help of numerical methods. For this, we have various methods. But first of all, let us discuss what type of equations can be there. So students, first there can be an algebraic equation, linear or non-linear algebraic equation. So this type of equation like this, or this type of equation like this, these types of equations are called as the algebraic equation. We have one more type of equation which are called as the transcendental equations. We have the transcendental equations also. Transcendental equations. For example, e raised to the power x minus 1 is equal to 0, or f of x is equal to log x. These types of equations are called as the transcendental equations, in which we have either e raised to the power x or log x or something like this. Okay, this equation will also be a transcendental equation. E raised to the power x is equal to cos x. This will also be a transcendental equation. E raised to the power x is equal to x square plus 1. This will also be a transcendental equation. In these types of equations, one common thing is that we have this e raised to the power x and log x. These are called as a transcendental equation. These equations can also be solved with the help of the numerical methods. The question is, what is the meaning of this solution? So any equation will form a graph. For example, Cartesian coordinates, the value of x and the value of y. Y is also called as the function of x. If you just keep on putting the value of x, you will be getting some value of y. Let us say that f of x, you are getting some graph somewhat like this. The point at which it is meeting this origin, not origin, it is meeting this x-axis, or you can say the point at which this f of x becomes equal to 0, or the y value is 0, it is actually called as the solution of the equation. It is called as the solution of the equation. Let us say that you have f of x like this. F of x is equals to x5 plus 11 plus 12x minus x square is equal to 18. You have an equation like this. So I will be saying that f of x is equal to this thing. Clear? Or I can say that x raised to the power 5 plus 12x minus x square minus 7 is equal to 0. So for what values of x you are getting it as 0, that is called as the solution. Those values of x are called as the solution. Just keep on putting the values of x. For some values of x, the graph will be showing 0 value, and that is called as a solution. To come to a solution with the help of the numerical methods, we have a lot of methods. The first method that we discussed in the class was the bisection method. So the first method that we discussed in the class was the bisection method. Now what is the concept of bisection method? Let us say this is some f of x. This is some f of x. By hit and trial method, you get one value of x. You get one value of x which gives you f of x greater than 0. There will be some value of x. For example, this f of x is equal to, let us say, x square plus 11 minus 5x is equal to 0. Let us say it is like this. You put x equal to 0. If you put x is equal to 0, f of 0 will be what? F of 0 will be equal to 11. You put x is equal to 1. 1 will be what? 1 plus 1 is 12. 1 plus 11 is 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. So it will be equal to 7. You put f of 2. 2 into 2, 4. 4 plus 11. 4 plus 11 is what? It will be equal to 15. 15 minus 10 will be equal to 5. You put f3, function of 3. It will be equal to 3 into 3 is 9. 9 plus 11 is 20. 20 minus 15 will be again 5. You put f4. It will be equal to 16 plus 11, 27. 27 minus 20 will be equal to 7. So you are getting some positive values. Let me go to some negative value. That is minus 1. If you put x is equals to minus 1, it will be 1 plus minus 1. So it will be equal to 1 plus 11. that will go 12, 12 plus something. So for negative value, it will always be positive because this will be positive, this will become positive. For negative value, it will always be positive. Let me go to some other value, f of 5. 5. So it will be equal to 5, 5, 25 minus 25, it will be equal to 11. Again, some other value. So it will be equal to what? It will be equal to, either the equation is 0, because that is a hypothetical equation which I have taken. So either it should be equal to 0 or let me write it like this, x is equal to b square minus 4 into a into c under root x is equal to plus minus b, that is plus 5 plus minus under root of 25 plus 20 divided by 2, it will be equal to nearly 5 plus minus under root of 45 divided by 2, it will be equal to 5, 5, 25. So 25 will be equal to 6, 6, 36, 7, 7, 40, nearly 7, 7 plus 12, it will be either, it can be 6 or it can be equal to minus 7 and plus 5, minus 2, minus 1, right? Okay, minus 7, minus 1. It means that it lies between somewhere near to 6, f of 6. F of 6 will be equal to 6, 6, 36 plus 11 minus 30. It will be equal to 6 plus 11, that will be equal to 17, right? Near to the value of the 6. Either it can be 5.9 or 5 point or 5 point something. At a certain point, you will be getting this value. Clear? Similarly, because this is some hypothetical equation which I have taken, okay, I don't even know what is the solution of this equation. Similarly, for some value of x, there will be a negative value of this f of x. For some value of x, let us say it is x1, you have getting this fx1. And for some negative value or for some other value of this x1, you are getting the negative value of fx1. Let us say here we have this x2 and you are getting this fx2. For example, it is like this. Minus 4 into a into c is 11. So it will be equal to 44. So 25 minus 44, again imaginary. See, I was telling you that this is some other type of equation, so I have taken that equation whose roots are imaginary. The roots are imaginary. For this, the roots are imaginary. I can take some other equation. Let us say the equation is x square. Now let me take a good equation. X square minus 6x and minus x square minus 6x minus 8 is equal to 0. Let us say you have this type of equation, because for this you will be having some different roots. Clear? Now for this type of equation, for some value of x of 1, you will be getting f of x1, and for x of 2 you will be getting f of x2. Now the concept of bisection method is that if you join these 2 points, or if you take the average of this x1 and x2, if you take the average of x1 and x2, you will be getting some x3. x3 will be equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2. The concept of this method is that this average value of x1 and x2 will lie much nearer to the exact root. Right? For example, this is the exact root. So this value of x3, if you join these 2 points, and if you take the average of this will lie much nearer to the exact root. Then again, you find the value of f of x3 at this particular point. If it is positive, it means that the exact root lies between x2 and x3. If it is negative, then it lies between x3 and x1. You again take the average. x4 will be equal to x3 plus x, let us say it is positive. If it is positive, then it is x2 divided by 2. Then this will be x4. This x4 will lie much nearer to the exact root. Just keep on getting the value until and unless you are getting f of x is equal to 0.0000, let us say 1, 2, something, right? Until and unless you don't get the f of x nearer to, almost nearer to 0, you keep on doing this iteration. This is called as iteration. Iteration. This was the first iteration. This is called as the second iteration. Sometimes in question it is just asked up to 2 iteration. Take x of x1 is also given in question, x2 is also given in question, and up to 2 iteration. The value of x will be equal to. Okay? So these types of questions are coming from this topic. This method is called as the bisection method. Clear? Now, the next method is called as the regula falsi method or false point method. Next method is regula falsi method or false point method. It is almost similar to the bisection method. The only thing is that here we determine the value of the equation. For example, dear students, let us say here is a graph. Here is some f of x. This is some f of x. First of all, you find out the value of x1 such that f of x1 is greater than 0. Then you find the value of this x2, or let us say it is x0. Let us say it is x1 such that f of x1 is less than 0. You find 2 values. Now you know that the exact root will lie in between this x0 and x1, that you already know. Clear? So the next point is calculated with the help of this equation. That is, x2 will be equal to x1 into f of x0 into f of x1 minus x1 into f of x0 divided by x0 minus x1. You calculate the value of the next point, right? x0 into f of x1, f of x1 minus f of x0. You calculate the value of this point. The question is, sir, how this formula has been derived? So I told you in the class that once you get these 2 points, which point? This point x0, x1. You are getting this fx0, you are getting this fx1. Determine the equation of the line. Right? How to get the equation of the line? So we know that the slope of the line, which is given by tan theta, it is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. Clear? y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. Because if you join these 2 points with a straight line, the intersection of this line which will be much closer to the exact root. So you calculate the equation of the line. Now let us say this point at which you are getting this value, let us say it is x2, the f of x2 is 0. F of x2, it is not 0, but here the value of this y is 0, right? Now what is the slope of this line? You will say that the slope of this line will be equal to y2 minus y1 fx0 minus fx1 fx0 minus f of x1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now what is this x2 minus x1? That is x0 minus x1. x0 minus x1 it is equal to, the same thing can be done with the help of some other line from this point to this point also. The same thing can be done. That is 0 minus f of x1 divided by 0 minus f of x1 divided by x2 minus x1. You solve this thing, ultimately you will be getting this thing. So this is the false method, false point method, or the regular falsy method. And this is the concept of the regular falsy method, that if by hit and trial you get this value x1 and x0, you just join these 2 points. This straight line will be intersecting this axis, x-axis, and at this point will be much nearer to the value of this, right? Now then you find the value of this fx2. If fx2 is negative, then the exact root, it lie between x2 and x0. If it is positive, then the value of this exact root, it lies between this x1 and x2. So again, going with the same method, that is the method of the bisection. The only thing is that here we are applying this thing, but here to find this value of x2, we have a formula, and how the formula has been derived by the equation of the straight line. Regarding numericals, we have already solved a lot of numericals in the class. I am just giving you a revision, quick revision, right? So, the next method is the Newton-Raphson method. Newton-Raphson method. It is also just like the regular falsy method. The only thing is that in regular falsy method, we need 2 points, x1 and x0 initially. In Newton's method, we do not need two points. Just get 1 point. Okay, for example, this is some graph. This is some f of x. Okay, this is the exact root. You get any point. Let us say this is the point, x0. Or this can also be the value of x0. Now, f of x0 can be greater than 0, it can be less than 0. It depends. It can be greater than 0, it can be less than 0. This is the value of f of x0. This is the value of f of x0, and this is my x0. The concept is that from this particular point you draw a tangent. From this particular point at this f of x0, you draw a tangent or drop a tangent like this. This is the tangent. This tangent can be here, depending upon the shape of the slope, the shape of the graph. Tangent. The concept is that this tangent, when it intersects the x-axis, it will intersect at a point, let us say this point is x1. This x1 will be much nearer to the exact root as compared to this x0. This is the concept of Newton-Raphson method. This is the concept of the Newton-Raphson method. So, how to get the equation of this tangent? So, we know that the slope of this tangent m will be equal to d fx divided by dx, or can also be called as f dash x. We know that. Tangent at the point x0, it will be f dash x0. Simple. The slope of this line, that is f dash x0, will be equal to y2 minus y1. y2 is fx naught. fx naught minus, here this y is 0, 0 divided by x2 minus x1, that is x naught minus x1. I want to calculate this x1 actually. x1 will be what? Take it here. x naught minus x1 will be equal to fx naught. fx naught divided by f dash x naught. x1 will be equal to x naught minus x1 will be equal to x naught minus fx naught divided by f dash of x naught. And here you have got the value of x1. Again, find out the value of this fx1. And again from fx1 drop a tangent to get the value of x2. Again, let us say this is the value of fx1 you have got. Again drop a tangent. This tangent will intersect this point at the x-axis, and this point will be much nearer to the exact root as compared to this x1. This is the concept of Newton-Raphson method. Clear? For general case, we can write xn is equal to, this is 1, this is not. So this is n, this will be n minus 1. Minus, this is x naught, so it will be f of xn minus 1 divided by f dash of xn minus 1. I could tell you the formula directly also, but in examinations I have seen that many a times this something graph is given, some tangent is drawn. Until and unless you do not know the concept how this formula has been derived, you will not be able to solve those graphical questions basically. Okay, I hope that it is fine now. The next method that we discussed after the Newton-Raphson method, it was the secant method. Secant method is also the same, just like the regular falsy method. It is almost the same method. Okay, the secant method is almost the same method. Not going to repeat it because that is not in the syllabus. That I will also be telling in the fluid mechanics also. I have already told in the fluid mechanics also the secant method. Okay, so this method is the most important method, that is the Newton-Raphson method. After this, we discussed about the convergence, rate of convergence. Now, what is the rate of convergence? Rate of convergence basically, see, we are doing a lot of iteration. So, in every iteration we have some error. Let us say epsilon naught is the exact root. For example, this is the exact root. Exact root. You are taking this epsilon n minus 1, epsilon n plus 1, epsilon n minus 2, etc., etc. This epsilon values you are taking. Now, what is the error between the n minus 1th term, or you can say n minus 1th iteration from the exact root as compared to the x n term? For example, dear students, let us say you have got this value of fxn. Fxn, let us say it is equal to yn, for example. You have got fxn minus 1. You have got it as yn minus 1. But the exact root of this equation, let us say it was fx was the exact root and you were getting the y value. So there is some difference in nth term and n minus 1 term. So this is error. So error in the nth term is exact root minus the value that you have got. N minus 1, that is the exact root minus what you have actually got. So for every term we have some error. Now what is the ratio of epsilon n and epsilon n minus 1? This is called as the rate of convergence. Means how quickly you are coming exactly to the exact root. Clear? And the rate of convergence of Newton-Raphson method is 2. For example, here you are getting an error of, let us say, 0.02. In the next step you will be getting an error of 0.01. In the next step 0.005. That is the meaning of rate of convergence. How quickly you are coming closer to the exact root. Students, after this we discussed about the trapezoidal and Simpson's rule. Yes. Is the order of the convergence the ratio of the error produced in this? Yes, it is the ratio of the error produced. How much the error has actually been produced. Okay, how much error has actually been produced. Rate of convergence of 2 means you are coming closer to the exact root much faster as compared to other methods. So this is considered to be as the most important method because you are coming to the exact root. So less number of iterations are required. If your initial value, that is x naught, if you have assumed it to be much nearer to the exact root, then your number of iterations will be much lesser as compared to the other methods in the Newton-Raphson method. And that is why you must have seen that in the previous examinations, Newton-Raphson method is very frequent, because even when you are going for the MTech purpose and you are doing some research work and something, obviously you will be getting some errors. Clear? Or you will be getting some equations which are very difficult to solve with the help of normal methods. So you will be using the numerical methods. So generally we go with the Newton-Raphson method because we are getting our exact root much quicker as compared to the other methods, and lesser number of iterations are required in the Newton-Raphson method. That is why it is also frequent in examinations. After this, we discussed about the numerical integration. Now, what is the meaning of integration? Complex roots. The answer said, yes, we can use it. We can use it for complex equations also. You can use it. There is no issues in that. The only thing is that the first root, that is x naught, let us say that your exact root f of x is equal to 0 and the value of x is coming out to be, let us say 5. The first iteration x naught should be as much nearer to the exact root as possible. If you are taking it as 5.5, you will be getting the exact root much better. Let us say you are taking the first value as 100. Obviously, number of iterations will be more, because you have to draw a lot of tangents then to come exactly closer to the exact root. So the first value, how much ever it is nearer to the exact root, the earlier you are getting the results. Clear? So everything depends upon this x naught. Everything depends upon this x naught. In examination, GATE exam, this x naught is given to you. Read the question very carefully. What is the value of x naught given? Whether it is, what is the exact value of x naught? Okay. So just keep this thing in mind. This thing can also be used for complex also. There is no issues. Now next thing, numerical integration. What is the meaning of integration? You will say that, sir, in class 12th we discussed that calculate the area under a curve, that is called as integration. Similarly here also, let us say this is some f of x, it can be here, it can, whatever. Let us say you have to do the integration of this function, this is my f of x, up to this, let us say this is my x naught and this is my xn. You have to do the integration between x naught and xn. Integration means to calculate this area. This area can be calculated in n number of ways, and for that we have a lot of methods. The first method, and this is, now generally what do we do is that we divide this area into small strips of width h. Let us say this is also h, this is also h, this is also h. So this whole thing will be equal to nh. Clear? So we have a lot of rules. The first rule is called as a trapezoidal rule. Trapezoidal rule. The second rule is called as the Simpson's 1/3 rule, which is very accurate. Simpson's 1/3 rule. Simpson's 1/3 rule. Then we have Simpson's 3/8 rule. Simpson's 3/8 rule. If in question it is not mentioned which rule you should use, 1/3 or 3/8, two things. First of all, see the interval. Whether the interval is an even function or an odd function or a multiple of 2 or a multiple of 3. Number 1 point. Number 2 point, if nothing is mentioned, generally we go for the Simpson's 1/3 rule. Number 4, Wedler's rule. All these rules, all these formulae have been derived from a parent formula which is called as the Newton-Cotes formula. Newton-Cotes formula. Now what is this Newton-Cotes formula? That is not even in the syllabus. I am just telling you the name, that we have a Newton-Cotes formula. If in the Newton-Cotes formula you put n equal to 1, you are getting the trapezoidal rule. If you put n equal to 2, you are getting the Simpson's 1/3 rule. If you put n equal to 3, you are getting this Simpson's 3/8 rule, and if you put n equal to 6, you are getting this Wedler's rule. Now, for applying the trapezoidal rule, this interval, that is this n, 1, 2, 3, 4, how many intervals are there? It should be a multiple of n or a multiple of 1. Now you will say that, sir, every positive integer is a multiple of 1. My answer will be yes. Then this trapezoidal rule can be applied for any type of question. Even if it is like this, integration from 0 to 12,000, 1 upon x6 plus 1 dx. Can trapezoidal rule be applied? Yes, sir. The 12,000 is a multiple of 1, it can be applied. Simple. Simpson's 1/3 rule. This interval 1, 2, 3, 4, it should be a multiple of 2. Can this be done with the help of trapezoidal rule? Your answer will be yes, sir. 12,000 minus 0, upper limit minus lower limit is an even number. It can be easily divided by 2. So that Simpson's 1/3 rule is also applicable. If the interval is a multiple of 3, Simpson's 3/8 rule can be applied. And if the interval is a multiple of 6, Wedler's rule can be applied, but Wedler's rule is not in our syllabus, so we will not be discussing it. It was just for the information. So we have this 1, 2 and 3 rules in the syllabus. Let us go to these rules one by one. Number 1, trapezoidal rule. Some graph is this, you have to calculate the integration from this to this, then integration from x1 to xn, or let me write it like this, from a to b, it will be much better, from a to b, just wait a second, from a to b, that will be much finer, from x is equal to a to x is equal to b. Let us say here we have a and here we have b. It is given by f of x dx, this is f of x, h by 2, first thing, that is f of x a plus f of x, you can say f of x f of b, just wait a second, let me write something here. Let us say that, because otherwise it will be complicated. Let us say f of x naught, it is equal to f of a is equal to, let us say it is y naught. F of b, it is equal to f of xn, it is equal to, let us say it is yn. Similarly, f of x naught plus h, x naught plus h is a plus h, h is this thing, this interval. So this is my y naught, this ordinate is my y1, this ordinate is my y2, and so on. X plus h is equal to y1. F of x naught plus 2h is equal to y2, and so on. This is f of b is equal to f of x plus nh is equal to yn. Clear? H by 2, first ordinate plus last ordinate plus 2 times the other ordinates, y1 plus y2 plus y3 plus y4 and so on, plus yn minus 1. So is it like we should solve nth order polynomial best with nth order of Newton-Cotes formula? So is it like we should solve nth order polynomial best with nth order of Newton-Cotes formula? I understood it like n is equal to 3, 3/8 rule working best for third order polynomials, and 1/3 rule is not working best for. No, it is not like this, Gaurav. It is not like this. Actually, Newton-Cotes formula is itself is a very complicated formula. If you put n is equal to 1 in the Newton-Cotes formula, you are getting a very simple expression, that is a trapezoidal rule. If you put n equal to 2, you are getting Simpson's rule, Simpson's 1/3. Simpson's 1/3 formula is also a complicated formula, but not very much complicated. If you put n equal to 3, it further becomes complicated, it gets converted to Newton 3/8 rule. If you put n equal to 6, the Wedler's rule is a very complicated formula. Which term has to be multiplied by which term, that is a very complicated formula. But if for nth order polynomial, for example, let us say that you have to do the integration of, see, the nth order polynomial will not depend upon this. It actually depends upon the interval. Whether you have to put n equal to 1, n equal to 2, n equal to 3, it depends upon the interval. Now see, if you have an interval like this, which is not a multiple of either 2 or 3 or 6, then first of all, trapezoidal rule is valid for every interval. But you want much more accuracy, because trapezoidal rule is not an accurate rule. You will be getting some values of f of x, but it is not an accurate rule. But if you want much better rule, want a much better rule, then obviously the value of n should be more. See, that is a common sense. If you increase the value of n, you will be getting a much accurate result. Clear? So if you put n equal to, let us say, 11, 12, 13, 14, something, you will be getting much accurate results in the Newton-Cotes formula with the help of Newton-Cotes formula. But problem is that the formula will become very complicated. So what do we do is that if an interval is not divisible by either 2 or 3 or 6, we do it with the help of the trapezoidal rule, because any interval can be divided by 1. Very simple. So we go with the trapezoidal rule. Otherwise, you are, in that sense, you are correct that if you increase the value of n, you will be getting much exact values, because out of this trapezoidal, Newton 1/3, Newton 3/8 and this Wedler's rule, the most accurate is the Wedler's rule. Clear? So it means that the value of this n in the Newton-Cortes formula is directly proportional to accuracy. But the only thing is that you are getting some complicated formulae, and hence we do not go beyond n is equal to 6. Okay? So 1/3 rule of working for a third order polynomial. See, polynomial doesn't matter. It can be a 3 order polynomial, it can be a 5 order, whatever it is. The thing which matters is this interval basically. The only thing which matters is this interval. Clear? This is the trapezoidal rule. Integration from x is equal to a to xn is equal to b. Let us say this is xn. F of x dx is equal to 1/3 h by 3. See, this 1/3 or whatever it is, it depends upon this 3/8, it will be 3h by 8. 1/3, again the same thing, y naught plus yn plus 2 times the O term plus 4 times the even terms. Even means 2 times of y1 plus 2 times of y3, or you can say, or odd means 2 times of y1 plus y3 plus y5 and plus so on. And even means 4 multiplied by y2 plus y4 plus y6 plus y8 and plus so on. Sometimes a student make mistakes in examination. They are writing it as 4 times the, they are writing it as this. Sorry, so there is one mistake. Sorry, there is one mistake, dear students. One mistake is this. Because I have started with y naught. If I would have started with yn, then it was fine. I have started with y naught. Sorry. I have started with y naught. Sorry. It is 4 times the odd term plus 2 times the even term. Because I have started with y naught. If I would have started with y1, then it was perfectly fine. But I have started with y naught, so it is fine. So this is what the Simpson's 1/3 rule is all about. The next rule, and for this Simpson's 1/3 rule, this n or the interval should be a multiple of 2. Next one, Simpson's 3/8 rule. Number C, Simpson's 3/8 rule. Integration f of x dx will be equal to 3h by 8. First term y naught, last term yn plus 3 times of, or you can say 2 times of y3 plus y6 plus y9 plus y12 means the multiple of 3, and plus 3 times of the other things which are left. That is, y1 is left, y2 is also left, what about 3 is done, y4 is left, y5 is left, y7 is left, and so on. This is what the Newton's 3/8 formula or 3/8 rule is all about. Wedler's rule is a very complicated rule, so we are not going in detail in that, the Wedler's rule. So these are the various rules, dear students, and on the basis of these rules, we have also solved some questions in the class itself. After this, students, what we did is that we started with the numerical solution of the first order differential equation. Numerical solution of first order differential equation. So we have, let us say, a differential equation like this: dy by dx is equal to f of x and y. Something like this. We have the differential equation, and some boundary condition is also given to you. Let us say f of y at x naught is equal to, let us say, y naught. Some value is also given to you, right? There might be some a hint will be given to you. So first method that we have is called as the Euler's method. Euler's method. Euler's method is also called as the initial value problem. Initial value problem. Euler's method is this, that yn is equal to yn minus 1 plus h times of f of xn minus 1 comma yn minus 1. This is the Euler's method. Just keep on putting the values of y, just keep on putting the values of x, and you will be getting the solution of the differential equation. Okay. The next method that we discussed, and we also solved a lot of questions on this topic also. The next method that we discussed was modified Euler's method. Modified Euler's method, in which the value of this y is actually modified again and again, right? The only motive is that you should have an idea, okay, yes, that thing we discussed in the class, okay? We also solved some questions also. The modified Euler's method, again the same thing, a differential equation is given to you. Now what is the Euler's modified method? First of all, you find the normal value, that is yn plus 1 is yn plus h times of xn f of xn comma yn. First of all, you find out the normal value. Then this value, whatever you are getting, it will be modified. How is it modified? The yn plus 1 modified value, yn plus 1, this modified value, m means modified, it is equal to yn plus h by 2 f of xn comma yn minus plus f of xn plus 1 comma yn plus 1 modified. Modified minus 1, it is modified minus 1. This is the Euler's modified method. First of all, you find the value of this y, then you modify this value, you will be getting some modified value, then you put the modified value here. X will be changing, right, because x is the same. First of all, x naught will be given to you, then x naught plus h will be equal to x1, x naught plus 2h will be equal to x2, x naught plus nh will be equal to xn. Okay, and f of x naught is y naught, f of x1 is y1, f of xn is yn. The smaller the value of h, the better the results you have, right? So h is inversely proportional to accuracy. If the value of h is very high, the accuracy will be very small. After this, we discussed about the Runge-Kutta method of ordinary differential equations. C was the Runge-Kutta method. Runge-Kutta method. In class, I have already discussed what is the physical meaning of this. Now, what is the meaning of differential equation? Let us say here we have a graph. You are given the equation of this dy by dx. Clear? Now, what is the meaning of this h? H is basically this gap. The gap between this tangent and the actual curve is basically this h. Clear? For example, let me zoom it. If you zoom it, this is the curve, this is the tangent, and you have taken this point. Any point xn you have taken. So, this is the value of f of xn. But you have to go here, but you have just reached up to this portion. It means that the difference between this and this, the difference, it is actually h. So I will be saying that this is yn minus some value, let us say here, yn minus 1, right, yn minus 1 and divided by f of xn comma yn, it will give me h. So this was the basic you can say concept behind this Euler's method, and the same goes with the Runge-Kutta method and everything that we have already discussed in the class itself. So we are not going the basic concepts because of that I think I have already cleared. Okay. So now Runge-Kutta method. So what do we do in the Runge-Kutta method? Until and unless not mentioned, we will proceed with the Runge-Kutta method of order 4. Until and unless not mentioned. And how this Runge-Kutta method has been derived? Runge-Kutta method has been derived from the Euler's implicit explicit functions. From implicit and explicit functions. But that is not in the syllabus, implicit explicit. Just remember it, it might be useful that Runge-Kutta method has been derived from explicit and implicit functions both. Euler's explicit and implicit functions. So yn plus 1 is given by yn plus 1 by 6 k1 plus 2 times of k2 plus 2 times of k3 and plus K4. And that is why it is called as the Runge-Kutta method of order 4. It is much more accurate as compared to Runge-Kutta method of order 3. Until unless not mentioned in examination, go with this method. The only thing is that you just calculate this K1, K2, K3 and K4. What is this K1 now? K1 is given by h into f of xn plus h by 2, comma, yn plus h by 2. Sorry, this is K2, this is K2, this is not K1, this will be K2. First of all, I have to calculate this K1, this is K2. K1 is h of f of xn, comma, yn. K1 is equal to h f of xn plus h by 2, comma, K1. Clear? Yn plus K1 by 2. K2, again the same thing, h f of xn plus h by 2, comma, yn plus K2 by 2. And for next, it will be just xn plus h. K1, K2, K3, K2 and K4, it will be just h f of xn plus h, comma, yn plus h. So yn plus K3. This is the Runge-Kutta method of order 4. Just get the value of K1, K2, K3, K4. Put it in this equation, you will be getting the value of this yn plus 1. So this was about the numerical methods, students, that we have already discussed in the class also. After this, we started with the differential equations. Do one thing, let me take a 10 minutes break now, right? So we will meet after 10 minutes and we will again continue with this topic, differential equations. Then we have the Laplace, right? After the Laplace, the last topic will be the probability and stats. So let us take a 10 minutes break now. After 10 minutes break, we will again meet. Bye.